I finally have Escoffier. It took me long enough, you know, because it's the first rerun. It's taken that long. But now that it showed up, I went ahead and got both her and another Symphonist of Sense. Of course, trying to get both her and Symphonist of Sense was a little bit sad because I ended up with 3 hard pities just to actually achieve this. Like, oh my god, ain't no way, I'm done with this, right? But the big question on my mind, which is a little bit different to the big question on a lot of other people's minds when it comes to Escoffier, is of course, how good is she with Aloy? Let's remind ourselves of the TLDR of Escoffier's kit. We have team healing as well as red shred based on the team comp. Keep in mind that a full team of Hydro and Cryos equals 55% red shred, but if even one character is not Hydro or Cryo, suddenly we lose 40% of that red shred. And of course she has some really solid off-field DPS. Because one of the things that I noticed when I was testing Escoffier with Aloy is that it seems like the DPS I'm getting out of Aloy was looking rather familiar. Because when it comes to their buffs, at the end of the day, Escoffier is kind of essentially a slightly stronger variant of Kazuha for a team like this. He can actually group Aloy's bomblets. This of course has made him traditionally the best support for Aloy. Escoffier naturally doesn't have that ability, thus trading it for her off-field DPS as well as her team healing. This means that on paper and in practice, the team DPS is noticeably higher, and we could also include someone like Shunhe on the team if we were going to be playing with someone like Farina. Thus, we would effectively be creating a premium Skirk team, but of course we're playing with Aloy instead of Skirk. And on paper, that does sound and is in fact amazing. The fact that I can clear Spiral Abyss with this team as opposed to a few days ago when I couldn't at all with Aloy is pretty much a testament to that. However, the struggle of playing an Aloy team with Escoffier is that we have one less layer of control in getting Ice Rush, and instead we need to rely on the enemy to walk into the bomblets. And herein lies a couple of problems that we might face. Occasionally, Aloy might throw her grenade further than any Olympic Javelin athlete and therefore miss. This is always a problem even if you have a bomblet grouper actually. Sometimes enemies might just walk or run away from the bomblets instead of actually to them. This is also a problem that you may face even if you have a bomblet grouper. Bomblets also have the annoying 0.1 second ICD on generating coil stacks. This is a particularly big problem if you're using a bomblet grouper. Some enemies just straight up don't move, and then you also have some enemies that can be frozen, which actually then prevents them from moving. You could try and do something like Swappy Solitaire with the Singer of Many Seas, but that just suddenly gets way too dank for me. And it's this last point in particular that does make it a little bit more difficult to do a DPS test in the Simulacrum, but not impossible. Because it turns out that a Ruin Guard that's aggressive does seem to move enough, even though it's freezable, that it can actually get me Ice Rush relatively reliably enough. So here's a Simulacrum run of the team. I started opting to use tap skill Shunhe for more quills per rotation because this is a team where I can actually swap out of Aloy momentarily and do another tap skill. But of course that also means we're getting some ult and skill damage percent as opposed to normal attack damage percent, so that's a little bit unfortunate right there. Because of that, Escoffier and Farina are getting some additional buffs that only Aloy's grenades and ult are getting, not her normal attacks during Ice Rush of course. As you can see, when I don't have Ice Rush, I'm also resorting to using charge attacks instead, since they're going to be doing way more damage anyway than the physical normal attacks. Because this team is a triple cryo team, it does make the most sense to me that First Great Magic is in fact Aloy's best in slot weapon. We can get the full plus 48% attack at R1, whilst also getting some charge attack damage for those times where we're actually using those charge attacks when we don't have Ice Rush. I have found that attack cups and cryo cups seem to be more or less the same for this team, with a slight DPS increase with my attack cup, most likely owing to its far superior crit stats. I did end up discovering that a little bit late, so all the footage you're seeing in this video is still of course using a cryo cup. And I think it's also worth pointing out, if you swap someone like Shunhe out for a bomblet grouper like Kaz, well suddenly we're seeing a 10k team DPS loss. If you need more DPS for whatever reason, you could run Yelan instead of Shunhe, but you'd have to forego the whole charge attacking if you don't have Ice Rush thing. And out of sheer curiosity, if I simulated C1 Escoffier, I seem to be giving the team around a 12% DPS increase with a bigger buff to Aloy's DPS than Escoffier's somehow. I don't know how that happened. even bigger question is, are there any new methods for getting Ice Rush without, of course, using a Bomblet grouper like Kazuha? And I haven't heard of anything, unfortunately. The Silent Solitaire thing that was floated a few years ago, I think, yeah, that's fake. It's not a real thing. I've done a video on it. Unfortunately, it's not something that happens, so unfortunately, there it is. At this point, it's more of a feeling as to whether or not I think I can get Ice Rush per rotation, basically. If you stick with the aforementioned double tap skill Shenhe method, at the end of the day, I don't think it really matters if you can get Ice Rush or not. Your team setup remains more or less the same. It's just the difference of whether or not using normal attacks versus using charge attacks. I think predicting your luck is more of a thing if you want to use the hold skill Shenhe method instead. If I get 3 coil stacks early on, I tend to start thinking I can actually get the 4th one relatively easy enough, thus triggering Ice Rush. If I get less than 3 coil stacks, I kind of just start assuming that I'm not going to get Ice Rush that rotation. Occasionally I do get Ice Rush late into the rotation, but I'd rather just take the L and start a new rotation instead. In AoE content, I think it's often more easier to get Ice Rush, but you know, take that with a bit of a grain of salt. Take everything when it comes to Ice Rush with a grain of salt. We're still hoping to get the bomblets to spread out, because if they all explode simultaneously, then once again that 0.1 second coil stack ICD bites us in the ass, so we kind of do want that. But against things like bosses that don't necessarily move, sometimes having them relatively close enough seems to also do the trick. All of this to say, yeah, the team is stronger, but it's harder to play, so the Escoffier version of the French Aloy team is definitely not for the faint-hearted. If you are prone to getting mad that you're not getting Ice Rush on the regular, yeah, I'd probably steer clear of this team. Probably go back to just using a Bomblet grouper and move on with your life. Obviously, if you were to play this team, but with Skirk or Risley, for example, instead of Aloy, of course this team continues to be stronger, but then at the same time it also becomes easier to play because Skirk and Risley don't have to deal with bomblets and shenanigans like that. But as always, we Aloy mains will continue the struggle. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. I'm sure there are Aloy mates who have been playing with Escoffier way longer than I have because they got Escoffier right from the jump. Let me know, has there been any interesting observations that you have made about Aloy and Escoffier? Let me know in the comments. What teams have you been playing as well? Because obviously the kit is designed for freeze, but I'm sure some of us have been trying to play some variant of melt as well. Let me know in the comments. Otherwise, hope you guys enjoyed. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more Genshin Impact action. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye.
My tears! Try to remember the steps this time.
Showing you things! Let lightning know it! It's time to process! Here's on the loose! This'll pack a punch. Go now!
It is time to slay our foes with one almighty!
This calls for some open ceremony.
Where were we?
My ordnance divine! At first, the flavor! This is a new one!
The